Time for another fragrance review, or sort of a fragrance topic to keep my channel active. Maybe if you like these videos, like, sub, silly, comment, whatever. Helps the channel. What am I going to do today? I'm going to do, I don't know if it's 5 or whatever I'm going to do. I'm going to do fragrances that changed my perspective on life. Or fragrances, something like that. So what are some fragrances that changed my perspective on fragrances? Well, the first one has got to be Dolce & Gabbana, the one, the EDT. Even if this wasn't the fragrance that changed my perspective on fragrances, I still think the EDT is better than the EDP slightly. But the EDT changed my perspective on fragrances because it was the first fragrance that I ever wore that I was like, wow, I want to smell like this. Sometimes I smell the dry down of this, and it's just one of the best smells I've ever smelled. And, before that, what did I wear? I'd worn stuff like Le Male, that kind of thing. And, I do like Le Male, and I've tried wearing other stuff. I mean, like Cool Water and other various sorts of random cologne. But when I finally smelled Dolce & Gabbana, the one, I was like, whoa. I was like, this is something that I would want to smell like. And definitely a fragrance that I've gotten a lot of compliments on through the years. One of the most ever. I've had the whole cliche, girls licking your neck while I'm wearing this. I had a story once where, man, a girl, I don't know if she was just on a ton of drugs or she was trying to sell me something and I wasn't buying. She came up to me and started flirting with me, and then, man, she started like unbuttoning my shirt and public. She was going crazy. I've had some really good compliments on this one, and it's one I like, so that's why I changed my one of the fragrances that changed my perspective on fragrances. Another one is Aventis. Why would I say Aventis changed my perspective on fragrance? Because I have gotten a lot of compliments on Aventis. And of course, it's a fragrance that's gotten a lot of hype in the community. And I would say it changed my perspective on fragrances because I definitely realized that Aventis for me is just okay. Sometimes I think it smells maybe a little bit more than okay. It smells good. But it's never been something that I felt like, generally speaking, again, I do think it smells fine, it smells good, but it's never been something that I felt like is me. And it kind of leans on being a little bit of a vibe fragrance. And there's too many other vibe fragrances that I would rather wear than Aventis. So I guess it kind of taught me something like that, or kind of reinstated or reinforced that idea that, there's so many fragrances that can get you compliments in life. And like whenever I do these top compliment fragrance videos, I'm always like, what? People are like, what should you wear? And I'm like, just go to whatever your favorite YouTuber is, whatever their top 10 fragrance is or whatever, and just pick 3 out that you like. Because you know what? You're probably going to get compliments. You know what I mean? Almost every fragrance within reason can get compliments. Maybe some more than others, but I was just kind of like, I don't want to wear a fragrance that I feel like I'm only wearing it to get compliments, because then I already feel like I'm already feeling like needy for something, and that's not a good way to go about things, right? So, Aventis from Creed. Another one changing my perspective is Pure Malt. Why would I say Pure Malt changed my perspective? Because I would say it's one of the few fragrances that I've seen, and it was early on in my fragrance journey, I guess, that I saw that sometimes community hype, when this was getting hype, I was like, wow, this is worth the hype. And Pure Malt is definitely a fragrance that I've gotten a lot of compliments on. It smells different. It performs well. I don't know if it's been reformulated or not, but smells good, performs well. It smells different, so it demands attention, and the attention that it gets is generally good. I've gotten a lot of compliments on it. Pure Malt, what can I say? It's one of those, it's a fragrance that was actually worth the hype in the community. And it made me think, sometimes, generally speaking, I think the community is full of shills. And of course, this was before Frabcom even got big, or maybe, before it got bigger and bigger, but definitely something that I feel like has been worth the hype. And it kind of changed my perspective because it's a different smelling fragrance too. It doesn't smell like a cologne. It doesn't smell like something normally you would smell, and it actually smells good. And so that's why it changed my perspective. Another one I'm going to get into is, I'm going to say, By Killian Straight to Heaven. And I'm going to say that because By Killian Straight to Heaven is, and I guess this is almost bad because it's saying it changed my perspective, but it's one of the only fragrances that I have ever tried that when I first wore it, and I'm almost saying this because it's still to this day, I've been in fragrances for what, 10, I don't know, probably 10 years or longer than that, at least in fragrances, right? Or if it's 2021, maybe 11 years, something, I forget. But anyway, Straight to Heaven is one of the only fragrances that I've worn or tried that I was like, whoa, I don't think I can wear this. This is out. This smells too much like alcohol. There is no way I can wear this thing. And I remember hearing this story when I was getting the fragrances and I was meeting, when you're in the fragrances, you meet so many different groups of like social classes, I guess, or whatever. And I was talking to this girl and man, she was super horny. And I don't know who's messaging me. I hope she's not hot, or maybe it's a guy. Anyway. And she was telling me like, oh, this fragrance is what made me marry my husband or something like that when we first started going out. She's like, oh man, it just changed me. She's like, I smelled this. I'm like, I knew I had to have him, or where the fuck the story was. And you know what I mean? It's a fragrance that I think I got a decant of it and then I got like a bigger split of it. And I was like, this actually changed. I was like, you know what? I can see this. I can appreciate the vibe of this. And again, it almost feels like cheating saying it's one of the only fragrances, or it changed my perspective on fragrances, because it still to this day is one of the only fragrances that I ever thought that there'd be no way I could wear this. And that now I've actually worn it and I've actually gotten compliments on it, even from like younger girls who think, oh, this is too out there. But definitely a fragrance. And it made me appreciate more so that fragrances can be a vibe. And I have, like I said, I've gotten compliments on this, and man, I wore it again recently, and I'm like, this smells so good. I can't believe that this was just a whatever fragrance to me, and now I can actually wear it, and people compliment you, and I appreciate the vibe. For what it's worth, I do think Straight to Heaven Extreme smells better because I'm more of a sweet kind of guy, but whatever. And on that final note, what would be my last fragrances to change my perspective on fragrances? Probably I would just say Tom Ford, I guess, right? Because you think like niche snobs or something, and some people don't even think that Tom Ford counts as niche because it's not expensive enough, or whatever this fucking reasoning that sometimes FragCom gives. But Tom Ford stuff is another fragrance that, you know what I mean, you're going through all these different fragrances and you're trying to find these niche fragrances that you actually like, going through indie fragrances again, anything you can get. And then, you start smelling Tom Ford stuff and it's like, wow, there's a reason that this is so popular. There's a reason that Tom Ford, they're almost trying to say it's not even niche sometimes. And it's another fragrance that I would say, kind of like Straight to Heaven, that I can appreciate the vibe. Some of them just smell so good. And it's another thing too, that sometimes FragCon, they say, oh, this could never get compliments, whatever. I've worn Tom Ford stuff that people are like, oh, you can't get compliments on this in real life. And I've gotten compliments on it in real life. And I've always said my favorite Tom Ford stuff is Tobacco Vanille, Tuscan Leather, and Amber Absolute. And I've even gotten compliments on Amber Absolute. I know the opening is kind of out there, but dude, trust me, I have gotten compliments just wafting in the air and someone gets a smell of you. I actually have gotten compliments on Amber Absolute even, but I guess that's why I'd be kind of changed my perspective. I can't think of any other fragrance that really has changed my perspective, at least that is worth mentioning, and those would be top 5 with an asterisk mark, I guess, towards the Tom Ford. Anyway, remember, if you like these videos, like, sub, silly, comment, share, whatever. It helps the channel.